Okay. Well, welcome and thank you for coming to this second webinar in our series for cultural heritage practitioners. Just a few housekeeping things before we get started is this webinar is being recorded. So we're planning to make it available to everybody that registered and also put it up on our YouTube channel for a reference video for later. So just something to be aware of. Um, I am planning to pause periodically between sections to check and see if there's any questions, any burning ones that people have right at that moment. But you're also really welcome to put questions in the chat as I'm going along. There's a couple other team members that are here, Julie Winchester and Simon Choi, I think, is also here, that will be available to answer questions as well. So you'll probably see them pop up. Yeah, I guess the last thing was I'm just kind of curious to know how people found out about the webinar. So if you wouldn't mind just dropping in the chat, like if you heard it on a Slack channel or was forwarded it or something, just it'd be nice to know. Um, so yeah, so let's get started here. Uh, as mentioned, this is the second of two webinars this week. The first was more of an introduction to MorphoSource. So we talked just more about what MorphoSource is and the history and showed how to use it as like someone who's looking to find and access data on the site. The webinar today is more focused on folks that are interested in contributing data to the site. So we'll go a little bit more in depth on why there are some reasons that you should deposit your data in MorphoSource, um, the steps for becoming a contributor, some features that are special for organizations that are managing their content on the site. I'll do a demo for uploading your data, and then once your data is uploaded, how you can manage and share your data with other people. Then just at the end, we'll talk a little bit about future development that we have planned and some have time to talk about resources and if anybody has any questions or has a discussion that they want to, anything they want to talk about. So, why deposit in MorphoSource? First reason is that it's a research and education focused repository. We're committed to always being open access, and anybody all over the world is able to see the site and search for media, make an account and register and download media. So you would get any data deposits that you put up there are going to be accessible to anybody all over the world. The content is limited to data that's scholarly, educational, or outreach, and we do that by requiring people to apply to contribute to the site. But that makes sure that your content is in good company. And we're also supportive of publication. So if you're using the data on the site as supporting material for a publication, we're happy to give you a DOI for that material. And uh, yeah. Another reason is that we're specialized for 3D data, as opposed to like maybe an institutional repository that's just generalized for any kind of data set. We're really focused on users that are uploading 3D models specifically. We have a viewer that lets users interact with the models without downloading them. Our data model really documents the data set creation process for 3D models. So the way that raw data can be processed into derivative files and the relationship between the data sets and the physical objects that they were scanned from is all, that context is on the site. And then we have format recognition. So if you're uploading your model to MorphoSource, you're going to see that if it's showing up in the viewer correctly, and if we're able to characterize and kind of extract some of that technical metadata from the file that you uploaded, that's you're pretty good that your file is going to be around for a while, and that it was formatted correctly, and that it's going to be good for preserving in the long run. And then moving on to preserves data long term. So we encourage users to really put in as much preservation metadata as they can. If you put in metadata about how your data set was created, that really helps with reproducibility in the future. We have redundant storage of files, so your files are going to be very safe with us, and a commitment to open source technologies, both for the technologies that we use to develop the site and also, we really encourage and require people to upload open source rather than proprietary formats, so that your data will be accessible in the long term. I've mentioned metadata a few times, but it's really important to us, and we really try to stick to standards. So we allow detailed documentation of your deposits, and that really contextualizes your data set for users and supports the FAIR principles for repositories. So the data that you add makes it findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. Um, some of the standards that we use are Dublin Core. You'll see later when I do the demo that we implement Getty vocabularies for describing the physical objects, and then premise preservation metadata. So when we import your data, we'll get information about the object that was scanned, any events that took place to create your data set, and then the data set itself, and show how those are linked together. But if anybody's curious, you can go take a look at our MorphoSource terms vocabulary at the link there, and I'll be sure and send that on in the follow-up email as well. And then IIIF. We provide IIIF manifests for all deposits on the site, no matter what format you're uploading. So our repository is very interoperable with other repositories that are providing IIIF manifests. MorphoSource is really heavily involved in the IIIF community as well. Julie, who I mentioned is here today, is an IIIF editor, and she's also one of the co-chairs of the 3D Technical Specifications Group. So she really makes sure that anytime there's any updates to IIIF, those are implemented as soon as possible. And we really have a seat at making sure that, that the updates that are going into IIIF are going to be useful for us on the site and useful for people that are uploading. And we have collaboration tools. So, most people are not working on their own, and we offer a lot of tools to make sure that you can share your data and kind of share management of your data with your coworkers or with your students. So it's possible if you're just uploading a single record, you can share that in several different ways. But we also offer ways to share with like groups of people. So projects and teams are collections of curated data that you can share with others and then assign those users different roles within those collections. So they may be someone that is allowed to access your data just to view it, or someone that can download it or edit it. We also provide anonymous access links, and that's for both individual media records and then also for project level records. And that enables you to share if you need to do peer review on your data, you can share that anonymous access link and then kind of set the amount of time that someone is able to access your data. And then lastly, we have proxy deposit. So you can delegate other users to deposit media on your behalf. And then last, we've got usage and impact. It's really important for users to be able to see how their data is being used and get information on if it's being viewed and who's doing that. So we provide download exports of CSVs so people can see how many times their media has been downloaded and viewed. We give the demographics of the users that are downloading and viewing. So if you look at that CSV export, you'll see that, whether they're students or teachers, and that's information that users provide when they register their profiles. And then also download requests. So some users have a restricted download setting on their media, which just means that people can view it in the site. But if they want to download the set, then they have to request access. So if you go that road, you're able to interact with the user and make and check kind of see how they're planning on using your data before you grant them access to do that. Um, so if you're interested in becoming a contributor, this what you want to do is after you've created your profile on the site and registered, if you head over to your dashboard, you'll see a link to become a contributor or data manager. And mostly what we want to know is just what's the data that you're going to be uploading, if you're affiliated with any organization, and also how much data you think you're going to upload. But once you fill out that form, you can submit it right through the site, and then the MorphoSource admins will take a look at that and get back to you within a day or so, usually. And then we often get asked about what the data deposit costs are. Just a reminder that it's always free to access data, but if you're going to upload, there potentially might be a cost for that. Basically, anything under 100 gigabytes or under is free, and this is for your total like project upload, not per individual media upload. Um, Anything kind of between 100 gigabytes and 1 terabyte, that's where we'll probably want to talk a little bit and see if there's a possibility of getting some funding from either maybe a grant or from your institution might kick in some money for that. But MorphoSource also has access to some funds that we can use to subsidize some data sets. And then if you're looking at contributing over 1 terabyte, there we will most likely be asking you for money for that. Currently, we're asking for 347 per gigabyte and then plus a $30 administrative deposit fee. There might be an exception depending on what the data set is, but that's generally what you're going to be looking at. And then just this is a one-time fee that you would pay. There's no ongoing costs to maintaining your data once it's been uploaded. So the next part I'm going to move on to is demo some organizations on the site. But before I do that, I'll pause and see if there was any questions that anybody had. Um, Feel free to use your microphone or just pop it in the chat there. Um, oh, and thank you to the folks that put in the chat where they heard about the webinar. Um, all right, so no questions at the moment. Most of our users are affiliated with an organization on the site. And if you go into the dashboard and see organizations on the left there and click on that, that'll bring you to the site. Sorry, I should have said to your list of organizations on the site. These are something that MorphoSource will set up for you initially, but once you're added in as a manager, if that's appropriate, then you'll be able to edit these records somewhat yourself. Go in and show what's involved here. You can see this is kind of just a dummy example record. So the institution codes and collection codes and stuff are not super exciting, but yes, so when you log in, this is what you'd be able to see. The title and codes are pretty much set. We can always change those for you if needed, but users are generally able to update just contact information on the site if you want to update who the contact person is, or if you have URLs for your organization or a project, you can add them in there. We let people customize the view of the site by adding in logos and banners. So you can see I've uploaded a couple files here, and we'll see those in a second. Organizations are able to manage projects. So any project that is kind of nested underneath the organization inherits permissions for all of the members in the organization. And it's more of a way to kind of curate a set set of your data instead of your entire organization's worth of media. And especially useful if you want to collaborate with other users outside of your organization because you can grant access to just this project to the to outside users, and then they can't access everything in your organization. Um, so for permissions, this is where it gets a little bit complicated. But if you're someone that is in charge of an organization, you're able to kind of set default organization permissions. So that means that if anybody from your organization or anyone from outside of your organization is uploading media that is a surrogate for an object
Oh,
that is in your collection,
oops.
uh, that means that they will see these defaults when they go to upload, and I'll show that in just a second. Um, but I've set my default download permission. So open download, anything that goes up will be able to be downloaded without any intervention. Um, I can set a download reviewer, which really doesn't apply in this case since I just said it's open download. But if I were to update the publication status, it would. Um, and then I can set some rights and licenses. So designate the IP holder. I can choose one of these copyright statements. I can choose a Creative Commons license. Um, MorphoSource offers a couple different use agreement types. We've got standard and permissive. Um, and then whether you can decide whether you want to permit commercial use, 3D printing, and whether any where any derivatives of your media are archived. We also allow you to upload a file for an additional usage agreement and or else provide a URL. And if you've tried to download any media, you probably saw that you have to agree to abide by any additional usage agreements before you're allowed to download those files. So that's where that's getting set. Um, some users or some organizations are a little bit more strict and they will enforce the permissions that they set here, but that's something that we would have to have a conversation about first. And we'll see these a little bit more later. The ownership tab just kind of shows you the state of your collection. So the number of media that you've got so far. Device media are media that were scanned by a device that's owned by your organization. I won't go into all of those, but yeah, it's pretty easy to, get exports and understand how your collections are looking. And then members. So assigning different users different roles here gives them access to things in your collection. So managers are going to be able to add and remove other users, and they're going to have edit access to any media that's owned by your organization. Um, Editors are a step below, so they'll be able to edit the media, but won't be able to do any edits to the actual organization record. And then depositors, downloaders, and viewers are probably pretty self-explanatory. Um, yeah, are there any questions at this point before I move on to the public view of the organization? Excellent. Um, so, so here's the public organization page, and actually, I'll drop this in the chat if anybody wants to look at it on their own computers. Um, but this will automatically populate with any media that is uploaded from objects in your organization. So again, this will be anything that your organization itself uploads, or if you have public kind of collections or collections that are used by outside researchers a lot, then if they upload that media record, you would see that here as well. Um, so object media is media that is created by scanning an object in your collection. The device media tab is similar, except it's media that is created by a device that's owned by your organization. The cultural heritage objects tab will just go to the object that or the object that was scanned to create the media in the other tabs. Devices can be edited by organization managers and there. And then the About tab just lets other people know about your organization and um, gives you some statistics about media views and downloads, and then gives contact information for people that are looking for that. Um, and then if I go back to the Object Media tab, the export button here is where if you wanted to access the information about downloads or views from your media, you would do that here. So a few different options, and they change a little bit depending on which tab you're on, but you can download just all of your media metadata. You can download object media metadata, or individual download counts, and that'll give you, again, the demographics. It'll let you know which users have requested download. Um, okay. So I'm going to go back to the dashboard now and do a quick walkthrough of uploading media to see what that would look like. So the first thing it'll ask you is, who are you depositing this media for? You can either deposit it for yourself, or Julie has designated me as a proxy depositor, so I can choose to upload for her. If I do that, then the media, when it's all done and processed, will say uploaded by Jocelyn, but it's managed by Julie. Um, I'm going to upload a mesh and choose photogrammetry for my modality. And then continue. Um, if I were uh, if I had previously uploaded a stack of images, like from a photogrammetry image series, and then the current object that I'm uploading was derived from that set, then I would be able to just search for that photogrammetry image series here, and then that would kind of, I'd skip a few steps in the upload process here, because everything that applied to those images would apply to the derivative as well. But in this case, I'm just uploading mesh, so I'm going to click on parent not available. I'm uploading a cultural heritage object. And I want to create a new object. So this is where you have to search for the organization that owns the object or manages it. And I'm saying it's my example organization here. And then the metadata fields here can look a little bit daunting, but we actually don't require too much. Everything's recommended except for vouchered here, and that's just whether or not the object exists in a collection and can kind of be located. So I'm going to put yes. I'll fill in a few of these fields here. Um, we leave lots of places to put in external identifiers and links to the object URL. So if you've got your own kind of repository, or if you have an exhibit online where you're showing this media, you can link back to that from here. Scrolling down, I can fill in a description, creator, contributor. This is where we have the Getty integration. So if I want to search for a Getty type here, I'm going to search for statuette. I should find that. But if you've got your own custom metadata, you are free to enter that as well. Mm. And then we have more fields for dating the object, location of the object, and any information about the provenance of how that came to be in your collection. But I'm just going to continue. So this is where we start talking a little bit more about the file that we've created. So I'm going to search for the organization that owns the device that was actually used to image the object, and that's my example organization again. But it can be a different one. And there's the device that was already populated before, so click continue. Here you can enter in any information about the imaging process. You're also able to upload a file if you have an image or like a PDF that has any logs or any information about the scanning process. You can enter that in here. Then if there was any intermediary processing steps that happened, like cropping or doing any sort of process like that, you can add that in. You can add in multiple steps, select different activity types. So you can get pretty detailed if you want to, but again, it's pretty optional. I'll add my file here. Oh, I lost it. Well, anyway, you upload your file here. Fill in some last minute general details about the media file. When we get down to the ownership and permission section, this is what I was referring to before when I showed the ownership fields on the organization record. So these have all been automatically filled in for me. And it'll let you change them, but it lets you know that the organization encourages you to stick with what they've recommended. Shows the additional usage agreement. I can add a tag here. And then I'm not going to actually pull the trigger and upload a file because it does take a minute or two to do the full process, but I'll go back to the organization and look at an example from there. Jennifer, I see, can metadata be batch edited? No, not at this point, but it's something that we've definitely would like to implement at some point, hopefully soon. Uh, so after you finish the uploading process, it'll bring you to the media record. And we kind of walk through the different sections of this record on Monday, so I'm going to skip that and go to edit it. And what I really want to show off is the sharing tab. So here I'm able to see all of the ways that this media is shared with others. So I'm the data manager and I have edit access. This has been added to a project, and so the people in that that are members of that project I'll also have access to this. The media can only be added to another project or team if the person adding it has edit access to the media. Because the object represents because the scan represents an object from this organization, that organization automatically has view access. So that means if someone outside of your organization, I think I already maybe mentioned, but if someone outside of your organization uploads a media file, you'd be able to see that that's existing in the system too. I can share with an individual. and choose how much access I want them to have. And I can also transfer ownership of the media. So every media is owned by either an individual or an organization. Um, so I could choose the organization here and transfer a request to transfer the media to them. Um, so yeah, so there are quite a few different ways that media access can be granted to different people, but we try to, gather it all in one place so it's clear who has access and the reason that they have access to your data deposit. All right. Oh, any questions on this so far? All righty. So I'm going to hop back to the dashboard just to show a couple things. Um, New requests for my media. Um, I would click that if I had gotten a notification that somebody wanted to download my media and I had a restricted download media. So here, this user wants to download. They've provided this intended use message right there. They want to use it for 3D printing. Um, and they've also made sure to click that they agree to the terms. So they would have agreed to both the MorphoSource terms and if this organization had any specific, organization specific terms uploaded, they've agreed to everything. And then at that point, you can approve, clear, or deny. You're also, because you have access to their email, if you need to contact them to get a little bit more details about what they want to do, you can do that as well. Over on the left here, you can look at any previous requests. Um, Ownership transfers, you can receive these either as an individual if someone transfers their media to you, or I'm seeing these because I'm a manager in the example organization record. And someone has requested to, or Jocelyn Triplett has requested to transfer this media to me. So I can either accept or reject it at that point. When I accept it, I can let them retain and access to it or not. Um, um, and I think that's everything I was going to show for sharing and access. Okay, no questions or anything. All right. Okay, so I'm going to hop back to the slide deck then. So just talk a little bit about future development that we kind of are eyeing. Definitely triple IF presentation 4, and I think that should be coming up this summer, hopefully. But as soon as it's released, that's going to be added to the site. We want to add in DOIs for media lists. So that's something I went into a little bit more on Monday, but it's just a curated list of media that you can get one DOI for instead of our current process right now, which is giving a DOI for every single media record. We're looking at doing some more viewer enhancements, especially with the situation with Sketchfab changing a little bit. We want to make our viewer, a little bit more comparable to the experience that people have over in Sketchfab. And then along with batch editing, we also want to have batch uploading. So right now, users that are uploading biological specimen records are able to batch upload. So we're working on modifying that process a little bit to allow for cultural heritage objects as well. So here's some resources. We have documentation on the site. If you just go to morphosource.org and then click on documentation, that'll take you there. We have a YouTube channel. This video will be posted to that later this afternoon, and the email will go out with that link. We have a GitHub community page. So that's more for announcements. We're happy to take any bug reports there. But It's a good place to check out. And then you can always send us an email at morphosource@duke.edu. Um, just to, again, remind people that there was a webinar that happened on Monday as well. Anybody that's at this current webinar will also receive a link to that too. Yeah, and I guess just wondering if anybody has any questions at this point. Oh, Hannah, that's an excellent question. So the question is difference between organizations and teams. Um, so they're pretty closely related because originally they were developed to be linked together. So we would have an organization record, and then the team would be the actual kind of management team that would be linked to that record and would kind of get access to manage organization media through the organization record. We've been going through a refactor the last year or so to kind of mush those together into one. So right now on the site, we've got organizational teams, and then we've also got just regular organizations that also have management members. So anyway, we're moving towards having organizations just be managed on their own. People may still create a team, which would just be a group of coworkers that you can kind of coordinate management of a subsection of media with. The nice thing about teams is that you can have projects kind of nested within. So if you have a group of people that's going to probably be working on several different projects together, it's like the easiest way to kind of administratively like organize that. Um, I hope that kind of makes sense. Sure. No. So do all team members need to be from the same organization? They don't. The uh, Everybody that's added to a team or organization has to be registered in MorphoSource. And depending on what role they're given in the team, they might have to have applied for contributor status. But no, you can work across different organizations and add everybody to one team. Thank you. Yeah, Julie clarified that yeah, it can all be added to the organization directly.
Yeah, I was just simply, yeah, I mean, I'll pretty much repeat what I said in chat, but yeah, it's sort of like a team is now good for if you have a group of research collaborators that are going to work on a series of projects and you want sort of have the same people in multiple projects without having to sort of continually reset up new projects. And the organization is if you have objects or imaging devices that you want to track and manage in MorphoSource, then you can be added directly to the organization. But yeah, that's just think I'm sort of repeating what Jocelyn said, but
I think more clearly though.
no.
Anything else? Oh, well, all right. Um, yeah, if anybody's interested in contributing, we'd be very excited to talk with you. You can either email us at morphosource@duke.edu or just go into the site and fill out the contributor application and we can get back to you with that. Um, but we're also just, if you're not quite ready to contribute, we're also happy to just answer any questions or anything like that. So feel free to reach out to us. Um, Yep. And just to reiterate, you should be getting an email later this afternoon. So everyone here and everyone that was here on Monday will get links to these recordings and some follow-up links as well to explore on their own. All right. Well, it was good seeing all you guys. Everyone have a good weekend. Yeah, and hope to talk to you soon.